All right, what's up, everybody? We're back here at the SDC, and I got my boy Rod and Alex. Rod with Road FS,
Yes, sir.
and then Alex with Mobile Tech RX. And,
How you doing?
And of course, I'm Dustin with Detail Bookie, and we wanted to jump on here, bring the software companies together, and talk a little bit about what software has how it's impacted the industry, how what do we do here at these events, and just chat it up a little bit while we were all in the same room together. And I figured that we'd take that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, how's the show going for you so far?
Honestly, it's been a great show for us. The traffic, the environment. Honestly, for us, we, as you guys know, we come from a PDR space.
Sure.
So coming to these shows, it really allows a team to immerse themselves in the art that is detailing.
Right.
And see the intricacies that go into just being a detailer. There's so much more than just making a car look brand new.
Sure.
And coming to these shows is enlightening. And it's a great experience for the entire team.
Yeah, and I'm sure for your business, I mean, it kind of maybe the PDR could overshadow the detailing aspect of it because y'all are so well known in the PDR industry. And so stepping out there and coming to one that's specifically detailed allows you to kind of shine that light and say, hey, we have a detail side too, and it's strong, and we're great at that as well.
Exactly. It allows you to see the similarities. Right?
Yeah.
It being in auto reconditioning, there's similarities, but there's also very drastic differences.
There is. The nuances are they're there for sure.
So for me, this is a good show. I think it's, I compare them a lot. This is better than last year.
Absolutely.
There's more traffic, there's more vendors, there's more people out doing stuff. I think like Alex was saying, the subtleties in it are looking at how you can help somebody's business. All three of these softwares are starting from solving a business problem.
That's it.
And that's what we're trying to do, is just take your business to the next level.
Yeah.
It's just like going and taking a training on polishing and taking you to the next level. Using a software program takes that business to the next level.
It does, and I think detailers struggle as a whole to relate to the business side of things, and so an event like this allows them to come in. The ones that come to these events really get to see it, like they get it,
Yeah.
and then the ones that are, our job is to keep bringing more and more in so they can understand. But software, it bridges the gap from being a detailer to being a business owner, and it allows them to see things as a whole from that bird's eye view and truly start to manage their business rather than just work in it. That's the way I think.
Yeah. And in reality, what I've learned being here is that the difference between a successful detailer and just your average detailer is the intent to network and to broaden your horizons, right? So everybody that comes here, the way they speak, the way they talk about their business, it's so infectious. And,
it is.
And they have that intent to want to be great.
Yep.
And it resonates.
Yeah.
It does.
I think the hardest part about software in the automotive reconditioning industry is trying to get them to bridge that gap and understand it's just like the other tools you use. You get a new polisher, there's a new innovation, and it saves you 25, 35 minutes here and there.
Sure.
Software is the same thing. You're just innovating the business. You're getting it to run on its own. So so you can actually work in the business and not struggle to, how am I going to do invoicing? How am I going to get this to the client? I've got to get those reminders. And years and years ago, you had a stack of really important stuff you were going to follow up on, and now all of our softwares can help them do that. And I think that's the nice part about it. And for me, one of the best things about this, honestly, is having other software companies here.
Absolutely.
Because it keeps us all in it, and we all know that there's going to be innovations that come around the corner, and it's just how each of us do it and how each of us solve that problem.
Yeah, and we all take a different approach to it, and at the end of the day, we're solving a lot of the same problems, just a different way. And the way that we solve it may work for one, where it doesn't work for the other. And that's why it's great for someone that's looking into software. They can come and talk to each one of us and see which one's a better a fit. Because sometimes it's not about software. Sometimes it's about the service and the people behind the software, right? And someone may relate to you better than they do myself or Ryan or you, and that's how they that allows them to get to know us on a personal level, and I think that's huge. And you mentioned software being like a tool, and it's absolutely that. And one thing that we see is a lot of these guys will come in and they'll start the trial, and then they won't use it, maybe, or they'll set it down. And what I tell them is it's like no different than if you buy a polisher and you go set it on the shelf and don't use it. It's not going to do its job. You don't become an expert by it sitting on the shelf. You've got to start using the software. And just like a polisher, you're not going to start out being the best ever. You got to learn it. And so, these guys that download it or that sign up and they try and say, it's just so confusing, or we're trying to learn it, or blah blah blah. You're not going to be great when you start. You just got to keep using it, and then you'll see how it kind of comes into your workflow.
Yeah, and I think that's universal with any software.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's an adoption to it. I explain it to people, and I say, if you went from using a rotary to using a DA, the first time you pick up that DA, you're going to hate it because it's like, well, I didn't put any pressure on it at all, and I stop it. It doesn't work anymore.
That's right.
And you've got to, it's like a tool. You got to train it. So we give them that, as you guys all do in the onboarding. You're like, hey, that first 30 days, there's going to be some bumps.
Yes.
Let's help you work through it.
Yep.
Let's, learn a day in the life. And I think that's the fun part for me. I love coming to these shows, and I love being in front of people, obviously, but I also like going in the shop with people and seeing how they do it, and getting on site with them and figuring out, how we can solve a problem.
That's right.
I also think that's the value of the education sessions. Right? They come and they sit down, and they're taking the time to absorb the information on how to use the app, and it kind of is a personalized experience to learning the software, which helps that onboarding and that learning curve that typically can take anywhere between a week to 30 days to really nail down a software. For some people, it's more than that. For some people, it's less than that, right?
Sure.
But being here, communicating face-to-face, showing them how it works and how it can benefit their business is huge. And as you guys mentioned, one option is never enough, right?
No,
so when you only have one software to choose, you're probably not, it's either them or nothing, and what have we seen? It's going to be nothing, right?
Yeah.
When they have multiple options, multiple people to choose from, and we're all drastically similar but different at the same time,
absolutely.
right? So it gives them the ability to come here and chat with every single one of them and decide what's most important for their business and their needs.
Yeah, that's right. What's cool to me? I always love the stories of somebody that's been on the software for a year or so, and they've gotten, they have something really unique about their business, and they've manipulated or they've used the software in a way that we probably didn't design it, but they've created a solution for themselves. And, Jackie really knows. She's been one of the most creative, one of our users, the most creative within our software on how she's changed some of the things and notifications and settings and such, that it truly is unique to her business. And I think that's so cool. Those are the fun stories for me to hear when they're coming by and say, I did this, and you guys do it this way, but it works so much better when I do this, this, and this. And I'm sure
we expect them to do it a certain way, but then they're going to find another way to do it. We have clients that have multiple businesses, and I think it's always unique how one guy, this business uses it this way, and this business uses it this way, and you're like, I went into software every day, and I didn't figure that out, but you know how to do that, and that's one of the greatest things about it, and I think that's the same with everything. I mean, they do that with polishes and pads. And
sure they do.
They figure out their own combinations, and I don't think the software is any different.
I agree, and I think detailers are the most creative out of all our verticals. Obviously, we glass repair, PDR. Detailers, they go into the system and they rip it apart, and they're using it in a way that I never imagined.
Exactly.
I love the creativity, and it really goes into the marketing aspect. I think detailers, more so than any other industry, they have brand presence and awareness.
Sure.
So when they go into a system, they rig it up to where their customers are getting all of these unique text alerts, birthday reminders, recurring clients, and they know how to work.
And I think that's the most unique part about that. You mentioned something, the personal touch, and that is something that I know we all do, but that is something that I don't think they really adopted. And once they figure that out, when you can look at a piece of software and oh, Mrs. Jones' birthday's coming up, or she really likes giraffes, something like that.
Right.
Those kind of things I think they're not something we push, but that is the stuff that keeps their customers engaged and gets them that recurring revenue, which at the end of the day, we're trying to help them make money.
Exactly, and this is what I kind of preach to them. I say, it's so much cheaper to retain a customer than it is to go acquire a new one. And so if our system can help you retain that by setting some things up that we can automate, the things that we know they're not doing unless it's ran through a system. You're not calling your customers that are 6 months down the road and just checking in on them. But we can set up an automated reminder and just checking in. Hey, maybe it's time for this, or maybe just saying, hey. And these things are happening, and now that customer's re-engaged with you, and it costs you basically nothing. And so it's much cheaper to retain those customers. Anything you gain from that is almost free versus having to go out and find new customers every single day. And software bridges that gap for sure.
Yeah, and I think the key to this, a lot of people ask us, what's next? We had a podcast where they're like, well, what's next?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, you know what? It's whatever innovations come about.
That's
We're
right.
going to adapt to it. And I think like no other industry, software is able to adapt and hit those challenges. I read yesterday, I got a notification that Apple's coming out with a new phone, right? There's going to be an Apple 14 Pro, this and that. our developers are already on that. They're like, all right, what's going to be the differences? Is it going to kill this? Is it going to kill that? And it's no different than any other industry. It's just that uniquely to us, we are programmed.
Yes.
No pun intended. To actually overcome those challenges.
Yeah, and we get met with those challenges like almost every day. When you start to put on users and they got all these different scenarios and different phones, different operating systems, and then and then they're using it in different ways. You start to find things that you have to adjust and tweak and build. So the software is never really built. It's just it's an evolving thing that just gets better over time. And the more inputs you can get from your users, the better the software becomes.
But that's the change we need in the industry, right? I've always encouraged feature requests and things that you need, rather than saying, what, I don't need this, I can do this elsewhere without a software.
Right.
So that shows that the industry is kind of starting to realize that software can be a benefit, because being a detailer and a business owner, it's hard, right?
It is.
We just talked about marketing. We talked about some people are their own accountants.
They wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. They wear 10 hats. Let the softwares wear 5 or 6 of them for you,
there
so
you
they
go.
can focus on detail.
Yeah.
Well, Rod, you've been in this business a lot longer than both of us. So what do you see? I mean, have you seen a change in the last 3, 4? That's right.
So it's an easier adoption from, let's say, 2008, when they're like, I don't need any of this crap.
Absolutely.
I just got a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. The other innovations you're seeing are things like integrations with other software.
Yes.
Credit card processing, or they want to use CRM features, or they want to do the inventory stuff. And it's just, those are going to keep growing. I think, like you said, it's never going to be done, and the innovations will never stop.
Correct.
It's just a matter of what iteration or where you at in that process.
Right. Which direction are you going? Where's your focus at? And just like you guys, we let our users kind of dictate that on a certain level. We have a roadmap and we have what we want to see done, but we really rely on our users for that feedback, because now we can condition the software to best suit the majority, and it should only be getting better every day, and every feature that we release, we want it to make your job easier, not something else you got to learn. You all know how aggravating it is when your phone updates and you don't know what all's on, and we don't want our software to be, that way. We want things when we update you to understand and you to learn and you to understand like how much easier your job can be because of this feature.
Yeah, I think the innovation is a result of 2 things. It's a feature request that leads to saving time for our end user, or making them more money.
That's right.
If it can do either of those 2, then we will find a way to put it on the roadmap, because it's going to benefit.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what for customers. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, they understand that process takes a little longer.
Takes a little time.
It's like asking a coating company, if you could just develop a coating that was a different color and it smelled a little different, and by Thursday. No, they're not going to do that. They got to put it through R&D. They got to put it through testing. And every time there's an innovation, we all want our software. We know we're in the detailing industry. We got its attention to details on the software. It has to be right.
That's right.
So you run it through those cycles. You make it as perfect as it can be, knowing you're going to change it again in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And then roll it out. There'll be some new phone. There'll be some new device that comes out. And we'll all have to jump on that innovation. But to your point, it should save them time, make them money.
Absolutely.
That's the key. That actually used to be our only poster we had in our entire thing. It just said, save time, make money. And that's the only way we could get them in to talk about software, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Because if you said, innovative invoicing software, they're
yes.
like,
Right. Yeah.
You got to keep it simple. Put that on a t-shirt.
Exactly. Exactly. It's funny that you said, these things take time. I always thought that you could just put a button on the software and they can just press it and it does whatever they want to do. No, I mean, all joking aside, it does. It takes time. And if you do it correctly, I mean, we could always just patch something in and make it do a thing real quick, but, that does nobody any good. Things have to be thought out and planned, and what, I think some of the end users don't understand is what, you change one thing and how many changes it affects down the line. And so you really have to be conscious of that. And so we really have to think those things through, and we hear you when you are suggesting. But we have a process that we have to go through, just as if anybody else, like you said, coding companies or whoever, have a process in place to make those changes. But we're happy to hear it, and we will absolutely put it on the roadmap.
Yeah, I think probably what's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to jump back, do a call back to a question you asked earlier. I have been here a long time, and I think we can kind of tell when there's a company that's going to be here for 15 minutes and then out.
Sure, absolutely.
And when you guys we first started seeing you guys a couple years ago, there were question marks. Are they going to make it?
Absolutely.
Detailer.
Sure.
But then when you start seeing that you're going to go through the right process and you actually have software engineers hired, and you're like, all right, this guy's legit. He's going to be around, because there's so many people that have an idea they're going to build an app.
Right? Oh yeah.
And you hear it all the time. Like, I'm going to build an app. It's going to be bigger than Facebook. And you're like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No,
They just don't.
no,
Yeah.
you can do that. So you guys have put in the time and the money, and you got the backing to actually make it work.
You hit the nail on the head, the money. I mean, listen, let's be real. This thing, coming into this industry, I think there's a lot of people that think that, you can just create an app and you'll have 10,000 or 15,000 or 100,000 users in our industry. And let me tell you, it's not a hard sell, but customers have to understand, the detailers have to understand the difference in running their business with and without, and what it does. And so they got to see that, and they got to have that aha moment. And so it doesn't just happen at the blink, at the snap of a finger or blink of an eye. It's a sale. So it does take it's a financial commitment to build the software and then go and sell it.
Yeah, not only building it, I think maintaining it is always
absolutely.
that is what's most underlooked, right? Anybody can build a software. I can have an idea, build an app. Maintaining the app, but more importantly, something that we all have is supporting the app.
Oh, yes, that's all.
The questions come time and money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge commitment. Don't understand that it does take a lot of time, a lot of effort. I think they're getting that, and I think that the fact that everybody in here has a cell phone that has apps on it, they understand.
They do.
And they get that they're doing that. And like you said, when they have that aha moment and they see that it's actually, oh my God, this is saving me money, or making me more money.
You're right. This can actually work, yeah.
But can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
She's obviously rapidly changing. 10 years from now, I mean, kids grow up with iPhones, iPads. So the adoption of technology is almost going to be a given.
Sure.
So what are some challenges you see in the future 10 years from now in this industry and technology-wise? Also, on the contrary, what are some things that are going to be easier that have maybe been harder?
So I see, everybody going to the software side and automation side. I think that you still have to realize there's still a physical aspect to it, and there's an art form to it. That's physical. So you can't just go run a detailing business off an app because you got to know how to detail.
Yes,
so
sir.
Just as much technology as going to affect and help, you still have to know the art. Have the skill set to do the detail. And I think that's what can't get lost. You can't just depend on the software to handle everything for you. Still, it's a business to run, and there's a physical aspect to it. And I think that part comes into play, and we don't want to lose that to the next generation coming up as saying, oh, software is a solve-all, fix-all. This is just another tool in the bag that you're going to need to run your business.
Software is like a magnifying glass, right? If you're not great at what you do, it's just going to magnify. It's going to highlight that you're not great at what you do.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things is that what I see happening is, from a technical standpoint, is the software tools hopefully will become easier as we look at the technologies that we're using. And I work with the developers every day. Those technologies become easier. There's libraries to do stuff. Years and years ago, you had to hand code everything. Single thing. And now, it's just like spell check, right? Years ago, you had to know how to spell everything, and you had to go make the changes. Nowadays, with an app, there's a library that you can get a button to swipe. You can do this.
Sure.
I think the challenge with that is to learn how to integrate that technology and not, as you were saying earlier, real easy to throw a button in there. And it might get easier to throw a button in there, but it affects everything.
It does.
And I think that's the key. The more wild the requests are, the harder it is to get it all to work.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Simple, there's value in simplicity, right? And sometimes that's even harder, right? The easier you make it, the harder it is for us. And so, it's like you have to kind of find that perfect mix of okay, we can do this, but we don't want to make it so complex and so difficult that you don't understand what it is you're doing anyway. So we have to simplify things down, and that just makes it that much harder. And then you know, just like you said, it affects things all the way down the line. You make one change, and you have to think about how it affects all systems throughout.
I think the challenge we all have is just like these guys. These guys sometimes, detailers, they try to be all things to all people, right?
Absolutely.
If you had a shop and you're trying to do wheel repair, windshield repair, bumper repair, I do partial paints, I do touch-up, I do PDR, I do everything. You can be too much.
Yes.
And I think software sometimes tries to do that too.
Absolutely.
I find that our guys, sometimes I'm like, you know what, we're not going to be the solution for
everyone. We can't solve all the
problems. I'm not
problems.
going to solve every problem in the world, so we need to stay in our niche, and we need to stay doing what we do and do it really well. And there may be something that comes out that we just can't handle.
Absolutely. No, I
to echo that point, I also think that there's an intimidation when sometimes you do too much. They get a software and it's like, there's so many bells and whistles.
Yes.
And it's intimidating, right? So that's kind of, it's a unique challenge that we build something that's so innately complex, and then we got to simplify that at the very end. And that's what you do at the end, right? You make it pretty.
That's right. Well, and it becomes overwhelming. I mean, these, they come on and they're already a little apprehensive at times about it, and then if there's so much going on and so much things to learn that they just end up putting it back on the shelf and say, hey, I'm not gonna, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. And in reality, it's just it's just overwhelming. So we have to simplify that process and say, okay, it's really just a few steps to get this thing running, and then it's small tweaks over time to really fine tune it. And that's what they need to, that's what detailers need to understand. And they're getting there. I mean, for everyone that we sign up, it just seems to get easier and easier and easier. So.
Yeah, and you learn just like anybody else. You learn through that process of what to expect. You're all of a sudden that guy that's got 4 technicians and he's got a mobile and a retail location and he does this and he does ceramic coatings. That guy's going to be a little more difficult maybe than the single operator owner stuff. And I think as the industry evolves and we see some of these companies that are getting more and more into what I'm calling farming out the work, right? They figured out that I'm not going to be able to do PPF, but I can certainly farm it out. I'm going to sub it out as contractors, subcontractors. It's just another tool in their belt, and then we need to just help them solve that problem.
That's right. That's right. Well, and that's our job. We want to be right there with them through it. And, one thing that I know you guys do the same thing through onboarding is we want them to understand that this isn't you just sign up and we throw it in your lap. We're here with you through that. We're here to support you. We want to see you get it in place because we know if you don't use it, you're not going to pay for it. So it makes sense for us to support you through that onboarding process, through the time that it takes you to get in there, get everything set up, answer the questions that you have that are specific to your business, and they feel that. They should feel that.
I agree. I think sometimes the onus is on us as the software for low adoption, right? Because I think it's our job to teach. And if we can't teach it in a simplified way to make somebody see the value in 30 minutes or less or in a week or less, whatever the free trial length is, then that's more on the software side. So I think we've been getting a lot better at just being able to relay what they need and how to use it in a very digestible manner.
That's right.
Oftentimes software companies can start, we talk it with very software lingo that's maybe more internal, and the detailer might be looking at us like, what did you say?
And I think that's one of the things that has changed over the last probably 10 or 12 years is it used to be if somebody walked in the door, you thought that's my customer. I talk to people all the time, and at this stage of it, I go, you know what? I can hear it in my mind going, this guy's not a fit.
Yes.
And instead of trying to hard sell this guy, I'm going to say, I think that you should do this. In fact, I tell a story all the time of walking a guy over to you guys because if 90% of his business was you guys, it was a perfect fit. And so we just walked him over and said, this is Alex. These guys are going to do a lot better job than we are.
Absolutely.
We're going to make it work, but these guys, that's what their core business was. So I think that's the difference is that, this wouldn't have happened several years ago.
Sure.
And that's a big deal that the industries come together and working together, and you see these guys doing it as well.
Yeah, and here's what's funny. So we've started doing this with us, right? And now you're starting to see it go all the way through. So the coating companies are now starting to see, hey, these guys, you can get along. You don't have to agree on everything. But you can get along and you can work together and you can say, hey, you know what, for the bigger picture here and what's best for the industry is that we all can get on the same page. We're all going to have different, aspects of our business and different features and stuff like that. But it does us better to work together and we provide a better service. And it's happening right out here amongst all these coating companies and product companies.
ideas to help elevate the entire industry as a whole, so everybody
brings
makes
everybody
more
up
money,
together.
everybody gets more clients,
Yeah.
and we all win.
And I think that is a level of maturity. I mean, as you get a little older, it'll happen to you someday.
Yeah.
As you get a little older, you start realizing that inside yourself. You're like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to be able to play this game, and there's other people who are going to have to take it over and go from there.
Right.
And you watch that happen.
Right.
And you watch that happen in any business, and you get to a certain point, and if they haven't realized it, they get in a rough spot because they've been just pushing it. I'm the man. I'm the man. And then all of a sudden at the end, they're like, wait, somebody else has got to do this. I can't keep doing this. And
That's
then
right.
they struggle. Whereas if you're more open and we do this now, I would rather see 3, 4, 5 software companies in here that are really good, that handle stuff.
Yes.
I actually feel sorry for the companies that come in here and they're like, we can help out the detailing industry, and I'm like, and they don't even do the basic stuff like capturing the vehicle information. I'm like,
sure.
I'm like, just don't waste your money.
Don't do it.
You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it.
Yeah, no, I agree, and you know what? It feels good to be at the position we are. I'm glad to see that the industry is evolving into this aspect, and I look forward to the future of detailing and how it is we can help them and how this thing grows together. Also look forward to SDC. I mean, this thing's building. This is year 3, year 2 in this building, and you can already tell. I mean, it's just it's filling up. People are supporting the show. And I think this, next year will be even better. I know that we'll be here in full support again, and look forward to it. So, I'm excited to see where where this thing goes.
Yeah, I think it's fun to watch it grow and see where we can have the next thing. I think it's interesting when people walk around and they're like, well, next year we need to do this.
Yes.
Because you know it's already on their mind of coming in and doing it. And every year you see new faces, you see the old faces.
Yep.
And I think that's part of it is that you see that next generation coming up.
It is.
And,
there was something said at the awards yesterday that really resonated, and it's that you come here, and the theme of the awards was family of origin and family of choice, right? That was a general theme, and I feel it.
Yes.
I genuinely, when I come to SDC, it's not as different from SEMA, that's maybe a little too big.
It is. It's way different. Yeah.
Here, everybody collaborates. We talk, and you network. And network is net worth. And it's great. It's night and day from last year. I thought last year was great. This year was even better. I'm excited for next year.
I thought he was going to get on me about last night. He's like, some words were spoken. Like,
No, you guys did a great job hosting the dinner, and
and you're right. That's the theme of it. We were kind of trying to bring everything back there at the end and just make it into a positive and keep the industry going.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. Well, listen, guys, we won't keep it much longer. Just wanted to bring you guys on, have a conversation. I always love talking to y'all. Love to hear, where you're at and how you feel the industry's going, and appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys.